Hello, my name is Matthew Warner, founder of Flocknote.com. Thank you so much for taking some of your time today to learn a little bit more about Flocknote. Really, I just want to share two important things that I've learned when it comes to the work of our church. The first is that as a church, we have to start thinking a lot bigger. You know, when I first graduated college, I went to work in a new city with a new job, and I started at a new parish there, and I was drawn into service there, getting really involved in our youth ministry program, the pastoral council, the March for Life, and all kinds of other wonderful things we had going on. But the more I got involved, the more I realized what a poor job we were doing communicating. You know, I was watching my peers leave the church in droves, and when I would speak to them, I quickly realized that they really didn't know what they were leaving. And somehow they had spent their whole life in the church, receiving the sacraments, going to Mass on Sundays, and somehow the message had not gotten through. So there's been a serious communication breakdown in the church, and unfortunately, this continues today. All of this eventually motivated me to quit my job as a computer engineer and then to found what became Flocknote.com. And now we're serving thousands of parishes and dioceses across the country. You've probably seen a lot of the different statistics that have come out demonstrating a lot of the problems we have in the church. For every one person that joins the church, we have 6 drifting out the back door. We have parishes merging and closing, and unfortunately there's much more of that to come. And then you've probably heard the Dynamic Catholic study that showed that about 7% of our parishioners do almost all of the financial giving and almost all of the volunteering. 7%. So we have this 7%, and then we have this 93% that we're not reaching and that are drifting out in droves. If we want to reach this 93%, we got to start thinking a lot bigger. Unfortunately, most of our programs, our ministries, the language we use, the software and the tools that we use are designed by the 7% and generally only reach the 7%. So again, if we want to reach the 93% and stop this huge problem we have with people drifting out of the church, we've got to start thinking a lot bigger. The second thing I've learned is that solving these big problems doesn't have to be that complex. In fact, the solutions need to be simple if we want them to have a broad impact on these big problems. And so while our communication challenges are certainly multifaceted, it occurred to me that if we're going to solve any of them, we need to solve this fundamental problem first, and that's the problem of our disconnection. That as a church, we don't even have a way to reach directly most of our members in the first place. So even if we have something to say to them, we don't have an efficient, direct way to reach the vast majority of our members. And so when we started Flocknote, we decided that this was going to be the first fundamental problem that we would help solve. And it turns out it's not that hard to solve. And once you do, it changes everything. We're just not doing it. So we started out by asking, what is all this technology for? I think it's easy to get distracted with all the different technologies available today, all the gimmicks and fads. It's hard to keep up. And sometimes we end up doing technology just for technology's sake. So it's important we step back and say, well, what is it for? What is the function we need it to provide for us? And at its most fundamental level, the magic we want this technology to do for us is that we can write something or say something, and then seconds later, thousands of people can get that message. And then seconds later, if necessary, we can hear back from all of them in some sort of easy way. That's the essential magic and function that we need as a church, the basic communication and connection. And yet, we don't do that. We can't do it. The technology, it turns out, to do this is not so hard. We're just not doing it. So we asked, what's the most effective technology then to perform this function? What's the most effective technology today to be able to do that for us? And the answer is email and text messaging. And we've worked with thousands of parishes now over years and years and years of helping them communicate more effectively. And email and text messaging have continued to be the most effective ways to reach parishioners. Looking at all the data we have now, parishes using Flocknote to text and email their members reach 5 to 10 times as many people as they do with their bulletin, 5 to 10 times as many people as they do with a mobile app, 5 to 10 times as many people as they do with Facebook or anything else. Not that those tools aren't useful in some capacity, we have to understand that they're solving different problems with a smaller group of people, a much smaller group of people. And that if we want to think big and we want to reach the masses who we're not reaching right now, we have to start with email and text messaging as the most effective ways to do that. We got to recognize that. But we also ask, well, what's the easiest technology to use? Because it's one thing to be effective, it's another to have to implement it at a parish and have it actually work and keep working. And so we ask, well, what's the easiest? What's the easiest for both a parish leader to implement and use regularly, and what's easiest for a parishioner to be able to adopt and start using as a form of regular communication with their parish? And the answer again was email and text messaging. This is what even the least tech savvy of our parish leaders are comfortable using, and they recognize the power of it and will actually keep using it if you make it simple enough for them. And then for parishioners, email and text messaging are the most widely adopted, most regularly used by far communication channels among parishioners. So we have to start with those as the easiest and most effective. So naturally, what's the most important contact info to get then from our parishioners? Well, it should be their email address and their cell phone number. These are the first pieces of contact info we should be getting from our members. These are what they use for their most important communications in their life. They use it to access their banking, to pay their bills, to access other social networks, and to do all the most important communicating in their life. They use their email address and their cell phone number, and the church needs to be using those too. We realize through all of this that the new home address for our members it's no longer the mailing address like it used to be. It is now the email address and the cell phone number. These are the pieces of contact info that change the least now for our members. These are the ones that we can use to get any other type of information we want now or long into the future, if we need to reach them in between Sundays or if we need to reach them because they stopped showing up on Sundays. So if we're not getting email address and cell phone numbers as a priority from all of our members who are showing up, we're making a big mistake. They're the most important, the most effective, they're the easiest to get and the easiest to use. It's practical, it's direct, it's personal, it's two-way, it's inexpensive, and every single person's already using it every single day. So we have to start with these most essential connections, because once we do that, once we can communicate on those channels, everything else we do as a church just got easier. And Flocknote makes all of that easy. First, we help parishes take all the existing contact info they have in different places and put it into one simple, centralized place that they can use as a team. And then we also help them gather new contact info from all their parishioners that they can't connect with yet. And one of the main ways they do that is through the text to join process we have, which is where at the end of Mass, Father can ask parishioners to pull out their cell phones and text in a single keyword. As soon as they text in this keyword, you've now captured their mobile phone number. It then asks them on their phone right there for their email address. So you get their email address and their mobile phone number, and then it shows all the ministries available in that parish, and they can choose which ones they want to get updates from and get involved with. And so right there, in less than 2 minutes on a single Sunday, you get everybody's most important contact info, their email address and mobile phone number, and then you get their communication preferences as to what ministries and types of updates they want to get from the parish, all right there in a couple minutes, right in front of you on a Sunday. Very, very powerful. And then of course we help every ministry leader use that then to communicate effectively for their own ministries or to the parish as a whole via email or text messaging, and then to capture any feedback they can do. So it's a really powerful way to engage parishioners, to ask them questions, to hear from them, to listen to them, and engage them on a deeper level. And now we're not just doing that for a single parish, we're doing this for entire dioceses. So we have dioceses now that are putting Flocknote into every single parish to connect their entire communication structure together as a diocese. And so you're not just empowering every parish to be able to communicate very powerfully with their own parishioners, but now anytime any parishioner joins any ministry in any parish, anywhere in the diocese. They're not just connected to their ministry leader in that ministry, but also to their pastor and their parish, and also to their bishop and their diocese, which is the way it should be in the church. And the best part is this is not just some hypothetical experiment. This is something Flocknote's been doing for years now. This is a proven solution. We've done it with thousands of parishes and dioceses across the entire country, and we're growing more quickly every single day. One final thought. You know, a healthy organization can directly reach its members at a moment's notice, and it can hear back from them in a second. But yet, most parishes can't do this right now. Most dioceses can't do this right now. Flocknote makes that easy. A healthy communication structure for your diocese and your parishes will change absolutely everything. Imagine your bishop being able to text message every single parishioner at a moment's notice. Imagine in a single afternoon being able to mobilize 30,000 parishioners to show up on the courtroom steps the next time someone tries to trample on our religious rights. Imagine parishioners having regular communication with their bishop and their pastor. Imagine the hours of headaches you're going to save parish admins the next time inclement weather rolls in, and instead of having to go up to the parish to answer hundreds of phone calls, they can stay and pull out their phone and send a single text message or phone call in a matter of a minute and reach every single parishioner, all from the safety of their own home. Imagine the huge improvements we will have to stewardship, to giving, to evangelization, to every single program you have in every single parish across the whole diocese. Imagine that, because that's what I imagined when we created Flocknote. And we'd love to work with you to make that a reality in your diocese.